Welcome back, guys. This is Trust the Process, the podcast. My name is Dalton Smith, and I'm so excited to continue this series with one of my best friends. I've been trying to get this dude, but he's very busy. David Morefield. Welcome, buddy.
Stoked to be here, bro. This podcast has been a long time coming. I know you have been wanting to do it, and as soon as you put out the first episode, I was like, come on.
Yeah, and we'll start with that. David is doing some cool stuff right now, and you did push me really hard to do this. And I appreciate that, bro. Give me some love because you are doing some new things right now that I didn't predict for you. And you're really encouraging me to do stuff like this podcast.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting when you start putting yourself out there and then you do get a lot of good energy back. You're like, I didn't think I would be that guy, but this feels like I'm building. It feels like more people are aware of me, more people can hire me, and the more attention you have, the more you're able to do, whether that's
For sure.
Get hired, network with people. So as an introvert, like I would say you're extroverted.
Yeah.
I would consider myself introverted.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised. And to give some context before we dive too deep, David is a filmmaker, a business owner. I definitely think you're an entrepreneur in your own sort, and you are a very talented visual artist. But now in recent, I guess not years, but in recent months, David has launched a YouTube channel, and we're going to dive deep into that. But I will say, bro, this happening is definitely in part to all of your success and efforts on that front.
Let's get a cheers going on
we,
that.
We got the fancy glasses. Cheers. My boy David is a fancy drink kind of guy, and we just wrapped up a huge production today. It was a big day, and it's not very often I get to sit down with my best friends and have a drink. So
yeah, like what we did today, where we're doing a multicam recording of a live panel speaking 6 different audio sources, is hard enough.
Yeah.
So for you to be one of the speakers and in the back of your head being like, I hope the production's running well. This is a paid job I'm on that I need to fulfill all of these production requirements. But also I'm talking to hundreds of students and I need to deliver the information that I can't do that.
I appreciate you saying that because you literally said earlier, you're like, I would not do this. And I feel like a lot of my friends would say it's a very me thing to do. But I do those kinds of things because I feel confident with you guys at my back, and I mean that. And that's not just in recent years, like since the beginning of this, NPI, me, everything I've done, you, Tristan, Kadeem, Mark,
James Gilbert.
James, a lot of these early people. It's funny because at the time, like I was doing, I don't want to say the bigger thing, but like I always needed a team to make this bigger picture. But like, at the same time, you guys actually made me feel more comfortable. You know what I mean? Having some people, because as much as I believed in it, we were just sitting in it for a long time.
I have so many stories in my head that I would like to, like, I'll just, like you said, randomly you're thinking and you're like, oh my gosh, that one trip we went to with them. But along what you're saying of you're needing to navigate this ship while figuring it out where the ship is going. I remember there was one time we were doing a national country music festival coverage.
Good times.
And the, event recap. So go out, get the people having fun, the people who are camping out, and we were 3 videographers, a little unit marching forward, being like, let's get the good stuff for today. And you said to us, all right, like, let's just go talk to people, get them to do wild stuff, and make this the best video we can. And I remember all 3-4 of us were just like, okay, who's going to go out into these people's groups and be like, hey, we're the camera guys, we want to film something. And you were just like, all right, I guess I got to go talk,
For sure.
You're the captain of that ship, right?
Yeah.
But you're forced to do that. If you're in that position, it's not even a choice.
No, and and I asked for it. Like I say that sometimes. Like when I look at my environment and all the things I'm doing, I really did sign up for this life. And, going back to how me and David first met in the very beginning, I would probably place it at 2014 or 15. And I was still living at home with my mom at the time for sure. Because I remember one of the very first times we talked, like I was doing like a skate team meetup
No, no.
thing. And that wasn't the first time, though, was it?
So our mutual buddy, I was telling him about Puerto Rico.
Who
And
was
he's
it? Was
like,
it Jimmy?
yeah.
Okay.
He was like,
Shout out Jimmy.
Jimmy Darnall.
Yep.
You should talk to my other buddy who does surfing, skating. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I like video and photos, but I don't know anybody in this small Cocoa Beach town who does that to get money.
Especially back then.
Yeah. And, not a lot of money. I was probably making like $50 to film a skate contest.
Yep.
Shoot, edit, all that stuff.
Yeah, out the door.
And then I emailed you and I said, I think I emailed you and I said, hey, I'm another videographer guy. I would like to meet someone else who's doing this. We got a hot dog, mustard's last stand.
Oh my gosh, bro.
But it was like, for me, it was like, you need to present yourself well. This is a business meeting. But it was just too, like...
Dude, that's
surfer.
like repressed memory. I forgot entirely about that.
And you were like, oh, I filmed some surf contests. I'm like, oh, I filmed skate contests. And you do some stuff for Ron Johns. And I was like, oh, this is great. Someone else who is trying to make work and like move forward with this camera that can make money.
Yep.
And do cool things.
So crazy, dude. Me and Kadeem, another one of our mutual friends, had a similar meeting where he had reached out and we had kind of talked but not linked up for a while. And I don't even know what the first gigs we did, but I feel like Space Coast Live, the county. So 2016, I hit it off with the TDC, the local tourism bureau, and I had been manifesting this like outdoor Space Coast, hosting my own series, doing hosted things, and then the perfect team fell into place in the county through a mutual friend, Mitch, from the marathons we did, got us in there, and it went from like not knowing them to being the team, what felt like overnight. And I know you've spoken on this. You worked for me heavily for a couple years on a lot of projects, but really that Space Coast stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's talk to everybody about that first stage of going from like, okay, we're making money. Because for me, from an NPI perspective, I paid you guys more that year than ever before. There was more money and opportunity on the table, and it really forced us to grow. It really forced us to get to that next level. Not just with like, okay, we need more mics or lights or this, but the quantity was through the roof. So yeah, let's talk about that. What was that like for you?
Yeah. So 2018 was definitely the biggest year I did with you. We did that country music festival. We went to Barbados twice to film World Surf League qualifying series.
Baseball tour?
Baseball in DC, the Nationals, I believe.
Yep.
A bunch of rocket launches, so many things. But even before that, because that's great, right? That's a lot of cool projects. But you can't just go do those if you want to, right? You have to have network. You have to have connection. So
because every single one of those are pretty cool, unique things.
And so that's how I met you, maybe 2 years prior or so, somewhere around there. And Tristan met you, through high school?
So Tristan Larrivee, shout out the boy.
Goose boy.
I met Tristan just before you, man. It was very much so at the same time. We had a mutual friend, Sam Duggan, who's a surfer, and Tristan was a high school kid. I think he had just freshly graduated, and he had a ton of skill. I don't think he even had a camera yet, and I don't know what the first thing we shot was, but I remember me and Tristan hit it off immediately, and so he was one of my first right-hand men. Like before there was a crew, I started hiring T a lot. And so, yeah, we kind of all happened at the same time.
And so that connection leads to you being able to get clients that require more than one person to do the job, because you can't do it. There's just too many things for you to do for these projects that you're getting. So you need a Tristan, you need a David, you need a photographer like a Kadeem or James.
Mark.
Yeah. So you couldn't do it without us, and then we can't get these clients without you. And it's this really cool symbiosis that allows us to grow together, reaching new types of projects, but also so much experience. But all of those aren't able to be done unless we have that network.
Yeah. And what's funny about MPI is I do a lot of things different, but I'm good at bringing people together and making great things happen. And to be very honest, I'm good at getting money for projects. So early on, everybody that was on the team added to that value that I was chasing. So like when I had you and the caliber of work that you'd been doing with me for years, that helped me pitch those budgets. You know what I mean? But we had liability insurance for $1 million or $2 that helped us get some of those jobs that wasn't cheap. And when we had to do international insurance and, it's been really cool because I feel like I'm obviously responsible for MPI. It's my company, but so many people have helped me kind of steer the ship. I don't individually feel responsible for where it is because truly I would have been stuck at that ceiling as like one guy. And early I decided I wanted to do something bigger. And it wasn't that anyone else wasn't doing something big. I loved the idea of scaling it and making a team. And I don't think it was the plan, but it was you guys being around a lot. I was like, let's do this. And we were blessed by the opportunity to do the World Surf League, the county, basically anything I did. I called you. I called Tristan, James, Kadeem, like Mark. It was really for like, let's say 2 or 3 years. It was these 5 people.
Yeah. And, that type of high quantity, we are working on this project on Monday, this project on Tuesday. I was like going through my Instagram stories and I'm me editing in a car while you're driving because we got to get this deliverable done before we get to the next shoot. And it's exhausting, but it was really like it catalyzed the growth.
Yeah.
And, very low rates, but that's where I was at. That's where we were at.
That's where I was at too.
And now if you said, would you consider this rate? It's like, no, but the fact that I got to get those rates to learn, I remember in the beginning it was like $75 a day, $125 a day, which is a lot of money when you're younger.
For sure.
But it's like I'm getting paid to learn how these things work.
And you have to start somewhere. And I feel like a lot of people are really afraid of that. And I'm curious what your thoughts are this, because the rate thing is a big thing in our industry just because it's so variant. And in my opinion, I have taken a lot of risk by not charging enough. I've taken a lot of risk by not necessarily offering enough. But I've been very keen to have other offerings to my team, right? Other value and the promise that has to be fulfilled and followed up on, which is if you do good work, I'm going to give you lots of it. And as that transcends, it's going to become more. So, dude, my core crew that stayed through with that have seen that change and seen that reflect. And to be honest, bro, like, I want to talk about this later, but the big projects, like when I'm sending you out, dude, to be able to pay you those rates is a phenomenal feeling, knowing we came from $75 days.
Yeah, and it's one of the questions that I discuss the most when I do consultation calls with people is, what do I charge? And I wish there was a easy blanket answer. Depends on your market, what you're offering, who your clientele is. Because you're working in the same town that you did 10 years ago with much higher budgets.
Yeah.
The same market, different clientele, different services you're offering now. And all of those are factors for you and I to build our rate or our project costs or whatever. It's kind of sucks because it's a very convoluted answer.
It is.
And you need to go through that path to figure it out. Because you have people who say, how much does this cost? You have to have reference and context for the number you're giving them.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of like oversaturation of information on the subject too. Like, have you seen these trendy things where people post like, "Oh, charge this much times this much"? Like, that's cool, bro. But like, these guys are telling you about one day they had. They're not doing that 5 days a week, and I laugh at it because I get it. It's applicable, but it should be one page of a 1,000-page book that you reference for your hustle. You know what I mean? And go ahead.
When I was getting those $100 days working with you in that year, probably 2019 or something, I did the biggest job that I've ever done, like most pay, even till today. Like barely any gear, barely experience, but it was just the right client and I could fulfill what they needed. So, like you said, that you might have gotten paid that once or a couple times or whatever, but a lot of people have different clients rates.
Yeah.
This amount for this client, this amount for this client. They book me more, they're whatever.
Yeah.
It's not just one number.
I think that's critical.
Yeah.
Because you have to do it the right way. You can't just be throwing different numbers at different people. And that's what I did. I actually adapted my business plan. Instead of just saying, "Oh, I don't want to lose that job, I'll do it for half." Let's tinker with the services. Let's tinker with the type of camera we're providing. Instead of a Ronin with an S3, we're giving you an Osmo Pocket 3. And the comical part is, in today's age, right now, it is more flexible than ever to kind of dial into what they want. Because I've got big boy budgets and I've got really tiny budgets. And there's different reasons why I take them. And I think everyone should hear this fact. I am living proof that community, vibe, and the feel that you leave with your clients can single-handedly build a business. That is our thing, straight up. If you ask anybody why MPI, it's the people. It's the feeling. Plenty of other people that do work like we do, that have cameras like we do, but it's not about that. So I tailor my price to what's on the table. And I just did a 5K recently. We made next to no money, right? But the crew got paid. We put even a little bit of money in the MPI account, and it was a not-for-profit for a good cause, which isn't just good for the heart. That goes full circle. I have had people from that 5K hire me for their business. So I think people are like timid to really go for it and lack results and keep going. Because that's really what it took. Just no results really, or at least not huge results, but enough to keep going.
And you kind of notice more patterns. Like you probably did that for the marathon because you've done it before. And you're like, I know I'm going to make connections out of this. I'm going to be seen more. It's another chance for NPI to be put out in front. So I don't need to be in the green very high for this one because I'm working on this side of the business for that.
Exactly. I'll tell you a number of a craziest thing I've done in recent years, and I would love to know yours too. I took me and another person who technically was on payroll. I've got some like salary-based people. And so taking him didn't cost me extra money, but it took him out of other work, right? So for the 3 days, we went to Mexico with CJ and Damian Hobgood. We were paid $500.
Total?
Total.
Oh.
Total. It was literally if you can't do it, we're just going to skip it on this trip. I had the chance to be with CJ Hobgood again, who I love being with him. He's a good person. He's got so much good people around him. He's got his brother Damian. I've never met him. Salty Crew's there. I was like, I'm going to do this. I have this feeling. So I was actually on a crazy tear. I went down to the Keys, did a project, left. Someone recommended me to two conks. They bring us down like 2 days later. And then I get back. And then I get this crazy opportunity, and I was like, I shouldn't do it. And someone pushed me to do it, and it paid off, you know? So $500, bro, for 2 or 3 days. And then I made a 7-minute video.
Yeah, that's a lot because I think you and me are aligned when we see the adventure of a project being worth more than the payout. I will, if it's corporate work, it's got to pay.
Yeah. No, because it is part of it.
But if it's an adventure, it's still got to pay a little bit, but the if you looked at my travel log without knowing you,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, wouldn't you rather get paid a little bit and do all these
For
things?
sure.
Yeah.
Like that's why we went and did WSL in Barbados for not a lot of money.
Twice.
Twice we did WSL in Barbados for not a lot of money because the risk to reward factor outside of income was so worth it. And on that $500 in Mexico, right? I got paid $500, called a wash at that point. It's like not making money. I met the investor for part of one of the projects on the trip, came home, he paid me way more than that for a 1 hour shoot in Orlando. I came out and did 3 slider shots that were rehearsed with talent that literally took up 9 seconds of a 2-minute helicopter commercial. We got paid well. Same guy hired us to do his daughter's 3-day wedding the next year. $500 risk.
And if you follow that back, how did you get the WSL? How did you get this? It's because you were filming at the beach, and then you filmed for Ron Johns, and then Ron Johns had you film in Barbados for one of their athletes. You met some guy who's like, I'm gonna try to get a WQS.
Oh no, you're
here.
right. Ron John sent me to Barbados.
Yeah.
I met Xander Venezia and his father Louis, and lo and behold, WSL comes to Barbados. Who do they remember?
Yeah, so
Us.
you can't get that client at the end of the chain just off rip. And it's way more fun to hit all these clients along the way, and they go, I know Dalton. Oh, you know Dalton. Oh, I've seen him over here. I've seen him on this. And you're just building your catalog of network. And one of the coolest things I think I've experienced is when people throw my name into conversations that I'm not a part of.
Yeah.
And then you get a random email and, hey, so-and-so mentioned you. And you're like, I didn't market that. I didn't pay for a sponsored ad. That was someone who just had a good feeling from working with me or doing whatever. They just knew who I was. They put my name forward in a room that I'm not allowed in. And now I'm there. And that happens so often that the networking return is way more valuable, and I think the longer you are in this business, this industry, that is just as strong. You're thinking about that just as much as what's the paycheck.
100%. 100%. I came to your filmmaker meetup, but let's transition to more current times. David started doing these filmmaker meets, and he had been vlogging for some time. And I was watching, and I remember thinking, like, this is so bizarre. Like, not what is David thinking, but like what's gotten into David. I would never anticipate that. And I've known you to absolutely be a guy that'll follow something you're interested in. I love that, like, if you like your car or coffee or Puerto Rico or whatever your thing is, you really pursue it. So I was like, this has captured his interest clearly. And if I know David, he's going to go follow through with it. And I just saw it going, but I was so perplexed. So what was that like for you taking that dive as a more, how'd you describe yourself? A more introverted person?
Yeah, 100%. If I'm at a party, I would much rather just like chill, talk, sit in the corner, talk with someone, and like I'm having a good time. Don't think I'm not.
For sure.
But I'm just not dancing or whatever. So in that same vein, yeah, I don't want to put out all this vlogging influencer, like I don't want to aspire to be that. But I saw someone else who was posting behind the scenes vlogs at a much higher level than me. And I found so much value out of a raw, uncut BTS vlog. I just couldn't stop watching. I was watching, went backlogged throughout all the years he's been posting. It's a guy in his 40s or 50s, and he just brings you into jobs that you're not a part of, and you're, like, that's what it's like at that job. I always wondered, you have more time to set up, and your tripod leg broke. That's why you carry a backup. All this like stuff that's not flashy. It's not influencery. It's just very valuable people who are working and making money consistently. Just some small moments from their jobs.
So that was the spark.
Yeah, his name's Cranky Cameraman. He's an older dude. Been in the business for forever, and he's a freelancer. And as a freelancer, you're a production company owner. I'm a freelancer. This was so cool to see someone doing this like they wanted to. They wanted to be in this position, and it was sustainable. So I got so much value from that. I was like, I think I can do this for my level, a much lower level, but I would have loved to have seen behind the scenes vlogs of someone who's making a couple $100 a day, $1,000 a day, and they just have a little bit of gear. Is that possible? Can you make a living just from owning one camera and some lights and a couple of mics? You can, and it's not that hard, but if you enjoy it, it's really fun. So I would just make those BTS vlogs, and I put up the first one doing interviews in Miami and just saying, okay, we're going to put this stand up. I'm going to angle the light this way. I mean, I don't have a lot of energy. You know that.
Yeah.
So that's how it comes across in my vlog.
But your channel does come across as you.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I vouch for you is it is literally like hanging out with you.
Yeah. Yeah. As good or bad as that is. So
it's good.
I just made those vlogs, and I knew I was gonna make a bunch, so I titled the first one Vlog 001 because I was like, I know I'm gonna do 3 digits of this.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll get to 4 digits one day. I don't know, but did that for the past 2 years, and kind of like I think the subscriber count kind of equates to like the pay rate. It's great if you can get a lot, but it's the outside stuff that's really beneficial. So for me, 5,000 subscribers is a lot, and I'm proud of it.
You should be, dude.
But
it's impressive.
In the grand scheme, it's a micro channel, right? It's just barely on the slope going up.
If you stop right now, it's a micro channel.
Yeah.
But from an analytical standpoint, it's essentially a guarantee if you continue working on it.
Absolutely.
At the rate you are.
And it's at an exponential curve, right?
Yeah.
It took this much time to get 1,000, this much time to get another 1,000.
And then it curved.
And it's starting to curve. So, yeah, if you just keep throwing darts at it, it's going to hit a bullseye eventually. And, that's going really well. But the payoff is the amount of network, the amount of times I've been hired just because people know that I'm from Orlando. I do corporate interviews and documentary shoots, and our project is there. We've already seen you. You're vetting yourself.
Yeah.
So we know that you've worked for hundreds of other clients because we've seen these vlogs.
Yeah.
If they trust you, it's all just proof of concept,
For
evidence.
Sure. And that's a big thing for us, just as MPI, is like one of the big things is just the track record alone it just speaks volumes. So I remember one of the first things that stood out for me for you was, I think you were in Puerto Rico or, you're in the Bahamas or something, and you needed a gimbal. And someone brought you a gimbal.
I'll say it. Beginning of a 7-day gig in the Bahamas, Nassau, Bahamas, filming for Margaritaville Resort. And, I'm doing my little vloggy thing. Hey, guys, we're in the Bahamas. This is going to be a really cool project. Tomorrow's our first day. Today was just scouting. And then at night, I turn on my Zune Crane 2. Just no response. I start freaking out because they hired me specifically to do gimbal of the architecture and the actors.
Oh, my God.
And
that's a nightmare.
Didn't have a backup.
So where did you announce this? Because at this point, you're not where you are now at all, but you had started to feel that sense of community.
Oh my gosh.
Which is, I credit all my success to Facebook particularly, but the Brevard County community has endorsed my success more than anybody. So I feel like that was like kind of like your first sign of like, whoa, these people got me.
Real people that live and breathe there got me. So, the first thing I start freaking out, they don't have Best Buy in Nassau. They don't have any type of video production stores.
That's a terrible place to have this problem.
Yeah. But in the preceding vlogs, I had said, hey, I'm going to the Bahamas. It's going to be really cool. So I'm just, I'm letting everybody know
forwardly speaking,
what's happening, right? And also, just as a storytelling feature, if you get people on board with what happened before and what's happening now and next, it's way more engaging to watch.
For sure.
So I would say that, a couple weeks before, I got my Bahamas trip coming up. This is going to be a really cool thing. Well, a bunch of people started saying, hey, I'm in the Bahamas. If you ever need another crew member, if you need this, let me know. So I go back to those comments. I'm like, who said they were in the Bahamas? And I messaged a guy. Thank goodness he answered. I had to go from his YouTube to his Instagram, and then I think he contacted me back on WhatsApp. And he's like, nope, there are no video productions. Like, you can't stores here. You cannot get that stuff here. How do you get it? Well, I buy it on Amazon. It takes a couple days to get here, maybe a week. Or if I'm going to Orlando, I pick up all my video production gear and come back. Yeah. But I have one you can rent. Sold. I don't care how much it costs. Just bring it here. I don't have a car, I don't have any way to get out of this resort. So I said, we're going to agree that you're going to come here at 7 a.m. tomorrow, right?
Gosh, how scared were you?
Dude.
Just waiting for this dude from YouTube in the Bahamas to pull up with a gimbal to save your Margaritaville job.
Yeah. And the guy who hired me was like, I'm hiring you because I trust you and blah, blah, blah. So he's got a lot riding on me. I got a lot riding on my ability to do my job. And his name is Javago. He came in right on the dot. I pulled out some cash, gave him the rental fee, gave him a little bit more cash because I was like, bro, I am
saving the day
without you. Like, I shared it in my vlog, and yeah, you have this now community of people that are, it's almost like, oh, we're allowed to interact with David.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm sure you've had that too.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's, I posted this morning about what we did today, which today was very cool. Fast forwarding back to current times, I had David direct a 7-camera, not live, but live switching situation for a panel where I was speaking on the panel. I can't even help. And it was really cool to see us go full effect, right? And I posted on Facebook just some gratitude. I was like, this is a full circle moment. I grew up in the wrong circle of people. When I was 18, 19, I was on probation. I had a probation officer. I was looking at really bad things. And to go in there and like speak to kids at the same time and actually feel I have something valuable to offer is really cool. So I just posted on Facebook and just talked about it, and the love and gratitude and response from this community. It's every day, man, whether it's about my baby or the business. And I posted on Facebook the other day and I said, wow, NPI Productions is booked for 25 fights this year. And that's unbelievable. And the responses, man, like people that have been following me, and I don't remember everything and every person, but they'll say these things like, yeah, man, I remember when I ran into you at this place, or I remember when you posted this video, I started following you. So I think people, it's maybe not for everybody, but I think it could be. The community really is for everyone. You just got to find yours. And I think that is a cool thing about where you're at right now, because you've been successful. In my opinion, you have been living your life with a roof over your head by holding a camera. My friend, you have been super successful. But to tap into this really cool community-based thing, for me, it's been exciting. It reinvigorates me. It keeps me involved with what I do.
Yeah, and so starting that vlog process is really fun, and then you have people who just organically reach out to you. And I had someone who reached out to me, but they didn't even see the YouTube vlogs. They said, my buddy knows I'm moving from Arizona to Orlando. And he said, you're someone here that I should
That's
get a coffee
cool.
with. And I was like, yeah, let's get a coffee. And we got a coffee. And now I brought him in for a job. He's brought me in for multiple jobs. We work together.
Yeah.
We're going to San Francisco next week for a client that he has. And then potentially Canada a couple weeks later.
That's killer, dude.
This is not done by me. This is like, you know what I mean? It's just
It's done
I
by
pushed it out.
the just evolution of your journey, my friend.
It's the sharing.
It is.
So if I don't share, and I didn't know this before, but if I don't share, I'm limiting myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a busy dude, but I've really tried to lock it in and start to prioritize the stuff I'm putting out because it is important for me to share it. Like this morning, speak on that panel. It's an opportunity for me to do something cool, but when it goes to the core, dude, those are vulnerable young kids. It's an opportunity for me to really do something. And that's amazing, bro. And like your YouTube channel, you're actually inspiring, educating, and providing the tools and framework to give people the dream job that they're looking for. Like, dude, that's incredible. And I think that's a very special thing. There's plenty of opportunity here for you. But I think the biggest thing about what you're doing with your community is that you're building a community. Even though you and I are really great friends and we work together well, we probably couldn't be any different across the board. Not in a bad way, but just as personalities, work, everything. How do you think that plays into the type of work we do, the leadership roles we take, and how that could apply to other people looking at what do I want to do with my production career?
Yeah, I think you and I have very different perspectives on granular things and also life. And the decisions, processes, how we make decisions brings us down a path that works best for us.
For sure.
So you are a production company owner. You're the founder of NPI Productions. And you've always been that.
Yeah.
And you've built that and grown that. And that is the role that I would assume you feel most comfortable and most satisfying in.
Even when we were small and early, it was still a bigger type team production agency feel, if that makes sense.
You're always the one bringing in the crew members.
Exactly. And kind of finagling the whole thing.
Yes. So wrangling all the cats, getting the production scope, talking to the clients. Okay, now I'm going to hire David. I'm going to hire Tristan. This is what the call time. This is what we need to do. And you're the bridge between clients and the work actually getting done.
Yeah. And it's a ton of logistics and labor.
I hate it.
It
I would never do it.
So do you want to know why I do it?
Sure.
So the reason why I do it is, for me, it looks like my best exit plan. I don't foresee myself building a very lucrative long-term like social platform that makes lots of money. I don't necessarily see me becoming like a real estate mogul. You know what I mean? And I invest money in things like that, but I more or less am trying to think like, how can I set myself up to not be here as little as possible as time evolves? And I really don't think that was the original plan.
I don't think so.
I think the original plan was I like to work with friends. I don't like to work alone. And I like to control as much of this production environment myself as I can. Because then I can kind of dictate the success, but unfortunately, where the failure, if that also occurs.
Yeah. You're taking
Very
on
yin and yang.
the risk and the reward.
So
You're
yes.
more risk, more reward.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it's not your risk. I can be your risk now that you have no control over.
Yes.
So I can go out and ruin a job for you, and you have to make the decision, do I bring him to the next project?
Yeah, and I have to go deal with it. And to be honest, that has been a nightmare. And it's funny because I'm always like, oh, we'll have a podcast. Dude, that has been an absolute cataclysmic nightmare. I will say working very closely with very close friends is a very tough task. I know for a fact you have witnessed me not handle things correctly. You have spoken to me about how I can handle things and been honest. And it's been an evolution for me to learn how to ride this beast and deal with it. And it really sucks because there was things that weren't my fault, right? People I put into position of power that let me down. And that's tough, dude, because then how do you separate that from the next job? Like, is this DQ long term? And then if you're friends with them, it never should apply outside, but it definitely sucks more. I'm not saying it applies, but it makes it way more difficult. So I have hired plenty of people that were friends before, but I can't really think of a single person we've hired that has repetitively come that I wouldn't consider a friend. And that makes it really hard. But I find that it's worth the tough times. I have lost friends. I have gained friends. People have made it. People haven't made it. People have floated in between. And I've learned to find this respectful boundary that not everyone is going to see it the way I do. And I just need to be polite, respectful, assertive, but supportive of whatever anybody wants to do. And that has been a big learning curve. That was hard. Xavier was a huge learning lesson for me. I hope Xavier watched this. I love you, buddy. That sucked for years, dude, because I knew I was wrong. We both obviously could have done some stuff different, but it really boiled down to me just not being able, like succumbing to the world I signed up for, right? I was in a relationship. I was taking a lot on. I had a big team. I was dealing with a lot. And so it reflected in my day to day. So yeah, it goes outside the business, which then trickles back into the business. So I think there's people out there that would definitely excel leading. I think that there's like this thing that like you feel it. In the speech today, I said it. Someone in that student audience is going to drop out of high school and get their GED like I did, and they're going to make it, and it's going to be fine. They're going to build something. They're going to do something crazy. But then there's someone in there that should not drop out. They don't want that life. Same thing here. There's some people that should lead big teams and go and find their next purpose. I didn't want to be a business guy. I remember getting pissed at the evolution. I was like, I'm on the phone all the time. I remember being like, I don't remember the last time I edited a video. And if I don't delegate them, they're late. These guys are qualified, but what the hell am I doing, dude? I'm not a phone talker, but I thought about the big goal. What's the goal? Grow this thing, man. Get a bigger boat. Pay people more. Build a bigger team. So,
That's your perspective, right? You're thinking, what do I want beyond this? And how can I get there to achieve it? Well, I could take on bigger projects if I have bigger crews and I can provide bigger services. And okay, I can get that done. I'll stumble, but I can fight my way through it. And then you have someone like me, literally on the opposite end of the spectrum, who does not want to be in that position. I don't find any satisfaction in being liable for so many other people. You just asked me, do you want to renew your drone license? I do not, because drone is just so much more liability than I want to take on.
I respect your honesty on that, though, because I'm a yes man, and it's a bad trait sometimes, and I've learned how to say no.
It's tough when if you say yes, there's a bag of money if you say yes.
Dude, it's crazy because I feel like because we are like non-hourly paid type people, our bag chasing mentality is so animal-like. I know it sounds like a weird comparison, but it's like you're literally like a lion in the bush hunting for your next meal, and it's like eat nothing or eat the small rabbit. And so I feel like there's some truth to that, It's like, are you going to starve? Are you too good to go get a bag? So like I always tell this story, probably 5 years ago or so, 4 years ago, I had people booked for a birthday party. And like, no offense, but it was like a 40 or 50-year-old woman's birthday party. I had no interest in filming it. I was kind of past that, you know what I mean? So I set people up, and then someone got sick, and then I had to go. And I remember I'm driving over the causeway, and I'm pissed. pissed. I want to be home. And I respect that for myself. I wanted time, but it wasn't because I was busy. I didn't have anything to do and I wasn't overworked. I just didn't want to go. And I remember it was like, I'm chilling, I'm dancing with these middle-aged women, filming this thing. I get done. It was a good time. It wasn't that bad. And I probably made like $600-700. And I was like, am I too good to pay my car bill? Like, am I really too good for that? So that's a big tip I'd give everybody is no matter where you're at, I'm never too good to go get a bag. And there is a level. I won't go crawl out for little money, especially with my daughter. But like, bro, if I got an opportunity to quickly and easily get money, like, dude, I'm always open for that.
That animalistic instinct or mindset that you mentioned, whether you are a production company owner or a freelancer, if you don't have a steady paycheck and you are in charge of bringing in your own income, I like that famine mentality. I like keeping an active mindset of when's the next job coming in. Not in a obsessive, I can't enjoy anything else, but if you've had a 9 to 5, you don't have to worry about that and your brain just starts to go to mush and you don't have that hunger.
Yeah.
And then or I'll speak for myself, I've had very few 9 to 5s. I worked at a skate park. Barely even call that a 9 to 5.
It's a cool 9 to 5.
Yeah, it was a 4 to 9 p.m. actually. And but I knew I had a schedule. I knew I was going to get paid, and that's it. That's all I got to.
Now you're done.
That's all I have to give. Whereas now I'm always thinking, how could I be branding myself better? How could I be squeezing more out of this social media vlog channel? How could I be networking more? And I think that's what I need. So we're talking about differences in personalities require different action. I need that, or else I'm going to get sedentary and I'm going to get even less disciplined.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go downhill.
I totally relate. I think that's why I love what I do. I do not think I would be a successful member of normal society workforce in any way, shape, or form. But oddly enough, and this might be a good transition, ESPN has partnered in a way with MPI Productions as a vendor, and I could not do it without JD, without David, without Justin, without George, these very few people. And there's going to be some more introductions soon, but it is a unique and incredible opportunity, and I could not do it without my team. But it is so interesting how we got there. It had nothing to do with anything, dude. It had nothing to do with any of the work we'd done.
Can I say how you got it? Because
Yeah.
I've told this to people.
Yeah.
Because on my vlog, how'd you get hired by ESPN? I'm like, well, I had nothing to do with it. It was my buddy Dalton. When the hurricanes would come and they'd shut down the causeways, and if you stay on the barrier island, you're stuck, right? The hurricane has to pass. The evacuation order has gone through. They lock it down.
You're stuck.
Yeah. And some people decide to stay either because they're just old and they're like, hey, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to uproot everything and get out of here. Some people say I'd rather stay here and just see
Ride it out.
Yeah, ride it out. And then other people are just like, why not? It's a hurricane.
Yeah. We're Florida boys, dude.
A hurricane party.
The goal that day was to check my house.
So you go around in your Jeep.
Facebook Live.
Yeah. But what did you have? A Jeep?
I had my Jeep.
Facebook Live.
Little Grand Cherokee.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I did not. You know what it is? And I credit my brother. Shout out Adam Dickinson from Control Results. He gave me the Jeep.
That's what yeah.
He had, you're right. So I owned a Jeep Grand Cherokee at the time. Very standard, not awesome.
Yeah.
He owned a lifted 4x4 snorkel Jeep.
Couldn't look more Florida.
No.
And you were ripping around, hanging out on Facebook Live.
8 hours straight.
8 hours and just going up your neighborhood and just being like, whoa, this tree fell down. And then this boat got flipped over. And then you'd start getting comments. Yo, my grandma lives right next to it. Do you mind just going around the corner and checking that? Yeah, check it out. This is it. Okay, everything looks good. Garage has a little bit of damage. And then comments flooding in. check
Hey,
my
go to
place.
Cocoa Beach.
Yes.
Go by Decline Diego's.
View count, live view count, just going up, 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 up. And then, oh, you're the hurricane guy,
Yep.
right?
You know what's funny? Last month, I go to Doubles, and there's these two young girls, say they're 16 to 18, and I could see them like looking and pointing, and I wasn't trying to be weird because like, are they looking at me? I feel like they're looking at me. I'm like waiting for my food, and the girl in the back, she's like, get out. She's like, are you the hurricane man?
Yeah.
And I laughed so hard because I was like,
So
yeah.
So you do that. It gets a lot of local eyes on you.
I would say out of the like 6 million views it got, 90% had to either live here, own a business here,
Right.
or have family here.
Relatives here. Yeah, 100%. And then one of those eyes is someone who's connected to something important and wants to bring you into a job, but it's not the right time and it's just not the right fit right now.
She probably followed me as kind of like just a fan because, mind
Yeah.
you, there's NPI Productions and then there's Dalton Smith / NPI. That's kind of like the fun and the behind the scenes and all my other stuff, right? She fell in love with that side. The Dalty Donut surfer dude. Because during that broadcast, there's a hurricane and there's a cool truck, but what else is there? Some surfer bros from Florida with this crazy lingo and they're chasing a storm. So it was fun. So she followed me for God only knows how long. And then I would imagine years. I mean, dude, 2017 was when the hurricane happened. We got called by ESPN in 2023.
So this is the connection. Some random person watching because you're sharing, right?
Something that is irrelevant to production.
Irrelevant, unpaid, but you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
So you might as well share it. And then someone sees it. It doesn't pay off that year or the year after or the year
7
after.
years.
7 years later, your services and experience level now align with the needs that she's looking for. And through a whole bunch of paperwork, you become a vendor for ESPN. Like, you can't tell someone to do these steps.
No. And that's I'm glad you said that. It was meant to happen the way it did, but I don't think it's clonable.
It's not clonable, and it only happens with certain decisions being made. If you don't share, if you don't decide to do what most people do in a hurricane and they just sit there, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to go out. I'm going to have action.
Not knowing the result either, right? I'm
not
a Florida
knowing the
boy
result
that
and not
loves...
expecting payout.
No, you know what's really crazy? This is really crazy. So let's talk about community, right? I was a little sketchy, but people found my address. And so I start getting letters. And they're not like, oh, I loved your video, I'm a fan. They're like, yo, I was terrified for my home. I'd had no news. You were my lifeline.
Because the news channels can't come over.
No.
The causeways are blocked.
To everyone.
To everyone. There is no news source, no information outlet out here.
And it was one of the closest, strongest storms in some time. So there was a genuine concern. In mainland, like we've got gas station covers gone 8 miles inland, which says a lot about beachside. So yeah, I was basically first responder boots on the ground for this pretty big storm. And it went for hours and hours and hours, and it left an impact enough that 7 years later, I don't know if she even thought about hiring us, but we definitely weren't qualified. So even if she was like, wow, I want to hire you in 2019, we weren't ready. So in 2023, the story is so cool, and I want to show you the vlog. And again, thanks for the inspiration, buddy. I'm actually going to commit to him because I realized that I was trying to adapt. I developed my vlog style over 8 years ago, and I wasn't consistent. I kept trying to be like other people, and you encouraged me that it's not the what, it's the how. And so I think that we have a really cool story we should tell, and this shark camera evolution is the craziest story ever. The call comes in, and they say, hi, Dalton, I'm an ESPN producer. We want your team to come to Vegas. And going back to the team thing, I said to myself, I'm not going alone, or I definitely don't want to.
That is something where we would have differed. I would have said, oh, it's a one-person job. Okay, I'll be there. I'm a contractor. These are the parameters that you're giving me. I will go in and do that.
And the parameters were read this article I'm going to send you. And the article said, Fox Sports integrates the poor man's gimbal. It's like the title. And then it goes on to say how they integrated a Sony Alpha 4 or something like that into a gimbal and made this $10,000 poor man's gimbal and used some RF tech to basically integrate it into a stream. The part that caught my attention was not just the network, more the viewers had this keen attraction to the shot. It's affordable and cheap and easy, but it's also likable because of the low depth of field, and you get this very unique look. And it's a steady cam for a fraction. So they were forcing broadcast people with no experience with the Sony Alpha camera to use that camera. And dude, gimbal work, stressful environment, no room. That thing was as ghetto and naked as it gets when we first went. So
And unoptimized for the conditions that it was supposed to perform in.
oh my God, it was bare naked. We put an A7S3 on it now because the autofocus system that's what we're running now is so much better.
It was
And
an R.
I think it was an A7R4.
R4, yeah.
R4. And you know, it's a great camera, but like the movement and everything, it wasn't going to work. So we come in and I said, I want to meet the director and find out what you don't like and what you'd like to see. He told me, I hate this camera. I'm going to tell you straight up, I hate this camera. And I had been warned that he hated it. And the reasoning was understandable. We've put 4 or 5 people on it and it has looked like trash. And I said, okay, got it. What do you mean? He's like, well, the focus is rolling and the gimbal's not steady. I'm like, okay, well, we don't work like that. So what else? What are you missing? He's like, well, people are not selling me. They're just being so literal. I say, go to the locker room and film the gloves. They film the gloves and they stand there. He's not in the locker room, so he needs you to be creative and keep hunting for a shot, right? So I'm like, okay, let me get that. Dude, mind you, I'm blind. I wish you were there. That first one, I barely remember. It was so scary. I know what I was getting into. It worked. I balanced it. It ended up being used heavy. It was the Lomachenko-Haney fight. It took me 6 months to learn, but that was a pretty darn big fight. They loved it.
Yeah, and the difference here is you're at a generation change, right? Where the 4 people that they put in there are people who have been in the industry for years and know way more than we do about how this works, but they don't know this modern tech.
Respectfully.
Respectfully.
Like it was thrown at them.
And we don't know how to use their tech.
You see me asking lots of questions about the broadcast cameras.
But they're trying to find the right fit for this new tech. Now, the funny thing is, everybody knows how to use an A7S3 and a Ronin.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have to be able to work in this environment and be able to communicate with a director who's in the truck, not even in the arena. And like you said, you have to find a shot and sell it to them. So
Yeah.
a lot of times you go around and you are basically doing a rehearsal angle.
Yeah.
And then the director will see 30 cameras on his screen
And he'll
kinda
like that.
glance over at you. Okay, Shark, we're going to do that as we wrap up the next round, reset, and I'm going to count you in.
I've had times where he hasn't cut me live in 20 minutes and I'm an overachiever and I get pissed. I'm like, I'm here to work. I want to go live. And then I'll sell him a shot and he'll say, and mind you, he's not talking to me. He'll say, set 13, go 13. And like literally 30 seconds ago, no one was talking to me. And I love that. And when I caught that early on, I was like, I want that.
Right.
I want a ball hog. I want to go get them shots.
He is always watching
He's
you.
always watching.
And we're camera 13. That's why you said 13.
So yeah, he does
There's
not
2 names.
identify you other than Shark or 13.
13. So 13 is our camera number assignment, and then Shark is like the fun name for it. But you have to walk around, find the shot, and I just said everybody knows how to use an A7S3 and a Ronin RS3 Pro. Oh my gosh, when you're in there, that is the last of your worries.
It is. And what's funny is I asked myself why I was there early on. I was like, dude, they could find an A7S3 operator anywhere. So I learned quickly why. You need to be a core crew. They can't ship a new person and educate them. So that's the real why, is you need a long-term functioning member of the family who is going to provide that service. Now, going back to the 2-person versus 1-person thing, right? They hired me thinking I was Dalton Smith, the filmmaker, an individual not knowing the scale or background of MPI Productions. So when I brought JD, it wasn't under the premise of like, it was that I didn't want to go alone, but you just told me that no one in your entire set can figure it out.
With way more experience, who knows how everything works.
So if
can
it goes
do
wrong and it's just me, I'm screwed. So I bring JD. While we're there, we immediately identified this as a 2-man job. Immediately. And it's not just that we need a utility.
Which is an assistant.
Which is an assistant.
We didn't know utility meant assistant in that world.
Nope. And utilities are great, but they don't necessarily know what I want visually. So we immediately determined we've got to have our own guy. So we told that to the client. And then I had my wife pregnant. This couldn't have come at like better or worse timing. Work and growth wise, it's always a good time. My wife being like 4 months out from our first baby, not ideal. So we get home from the first fight. They loved it. They were like, dude, but they didn't say anything about coming back. So we leave and like, you know how it is. Everyone's like, yo, see you next week in St. Louis or Canada. And we're just like, bye. So we get home. Maybe 5 days go by. Me and my wife are in Lowe's. My phone rings, and I didn't know her name at first, so I saved it. My phone as ESPN. So I look down, and ESPN's calling, and my wife's just like, she knew. They wanted us again. We did minimum 20 fights last year from April to December. And
well, when you were telling me, hey, I'm not going to be able to make all these flights, I have a baby coming, it was funny because normally when you say, are you available? I say, give me the rate, give me the date.
Yeah.
I'll give you information based on that response. And for this one, it was, David, I just want you to see what this experience is like. You're working with industry professionals who are in this, metaphorical arena, but also an arena.
Literally.
Who are doing stuff way beyond what we could achieve or create ourselves. And you just got to see how streamlined they are, how they bring in 4 trucks with everything from across the country, park it, unload, raise the trusses, put the ring in, do rehearsals, live action,
dude, it's
close
incredible.
it all up. And that's what, going to adventure.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
I can't get into that world on my own. I'm interested. Let's see if we can do it. And, it's just nice that, like you're saying, years later, payment has changed, rates have changed.
Now we get both worlds.
Yeah.
I get to pay you well and send you or bring you to the coolest places. And what's funny is the reason I jumped into ESPN was to say, I am now not the leader. I might be the leader of our little vendorship because cool thing is that pressure I put on ESPN early, saying I want 2 people, letting them know about my baby, telling them I couldn't be there, said, I've got good news for you. I'm not Dalton Smith individual. I'm Dalton Smith MPI Productions LLC with the whole list of talented people. So now when I leave in a couple months to take care of my baby, because that's happening whether you like it or not, I got people that can come in and do this as good or better than me. That changed everything because they needed that without knowing it, right?
Well, it's more protection for them because whether or not you have a baby,
what if I get hurt?
It's possible you can get sick.
And
it's
now there's no shark.
Yeah.
If Dalton Smith got sick without this setup, no shark.
Yeah.
That camera is critical to that package now.
Well, okay, so that's a super interesting way of how it's developed, but for like the camera gear nerds out there, it is so cool how we've every time I get off a job, I send you a video and I say, this broke, this is annoying, buy this piece, and then we need to tighten this up with this.
And then what happened at the last fight? I sent you a video right when you weren't there, and I said, yo, Dave, got your notes, check out what I did.
Yeah, and every fight, it gets optimized and more efficient and makes
Yep.
our job easier.
It does.
Um,
And harder. Wait till you come and see the damn Zoom feature. It's so funny. It's I was trying to make a Zoom feature to zoom off of live camera, and they were like, "Cool, can we do it live?" And it became this journey. But I am so proud because their reaction was incredible. Like it really was incredible. And they saw how frustrated I was when it didn't work. Like I went to 3 shows fixing the Zoom, and Aladdin was like, "Do we got it?" And he was giving me a hard time, like, "I see, I said I want my Zoom," but he was just messing with me, and they could tell that I wanted it. And then when I got it, and I showed all them, I was so freaking proud, bro. And it's an honor to bring all the boys in to do this with me because it's bigger than me. And like I said, I looked at the calendar, and success is cool, whatever. But having a team to share it with is, for me, the biggest high. Like it would be boring to do these things alone. Not that it's bad, but for me, in my lifestyle, I would hate doing this without you guys.
and
It wouldn't
I
work.
like being in that I will call you to bring you in position.
You like being the guy ready to
You know
be
what I
there
like?
with me.
I like when it's right before a shoot and I get a PDF and it says, here's the shoot notes, here's the call time, here's the location. And I go, oh, thank you. So you've done months of work to put this project in order, haven't you? Oh, yeah, we've done all this pre-production and just haggling back and forth with the client and the negotiations. And I'm like, I'll just take the PDF. Thank you.
Yeah,
And then I
that's
go
what
in
happened last night
and
for
do
the
my
shoot.
job.
Yep.
And I really like working with that type of tunnel vision. Like basically just a for hire, day in, crush it, day out.
Yeah. You know what you're doing?
Especially handing over memory cards.
Which is and you know what's funny, dude? I have so much respect for you, for real. The way that you've really dictated, like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is how I'm gonna do it. I told you that I decided to build a corporation with a scaled structure with people in lots of places, and the units thing, the quantity, that has not changed. Me and these boys be getting it, but it's cool because we're finding ways to balance it out, and it works for us, right? Just like that works for you. So it's really cool, man. That's why I encourage people to find their own hustle, their own way, because like you said, if you took my blueprint or your blueprint, you can't just follow it step by step. But you doing what you're doing and isolating certain things you don't want to do, that you do want to do, you can make the money you want to make the way you want to make it. And a big eye opener for me this year was I used ChatGPT. Believe it or not, I use it a lot, but I used it to make some rates. I took a rate. I had a job and I knew it was going to be a lot of money. And I knew that they were expecting licensing fees and things of that nature. I knew it. So I took what I would always charge and plugged it in. And I said, what do you think? I said, scrape the film industry, specifically in the
What?
Southeast. Scrape my region. Look at the type of services for the type of client I'm telling you about and give me rates. I will not give you guys a number. I'll tell you after. Well, I don't even care, dude. I don't know. The project still
just
worked. I'll
keep
tell
it,
you after.
yeah, keep it off.
50%.
Higher than
50%.
What? Yeah.
And I have always flirted about like, oh, I should throw a big number out. And I always chicken out,
Dude,
man.
it's so
Like
scary.
I always chicken out. We were so busy. If we lost the job, we were still struggling to keep up with the work we had. So I sent it. Instantaneous approval within an hour. And then I will tell you one, I sold a photo for $10,000 and I maintained the rights to the photo. Single use, 10 grand.
And you've licensed tons of photos, but it's
Not for that,
for
but
this client, for this type of thing. But you've I don't know which photo you're talking about, but you've taken photos like this before in whatever industry it was, right?
mm-hmm.
But for this client, for this position, it's worth so much more if you're courageous enough
Yeah.
to push out the number that is actually expected in that level, in that caliber.
And I knew it was expected. The condensed version here is that I went on a free unpaid trip, not even looking for the photo, and then sold it. But when I sold it the second time, My buddy Kadeem in New York City has a very stern saying: yesterday's rate is not today's rate. And I absolutely said in the email, I'm charging this rate because of where we're at and what this is worth. And I know it's worth double that, so this is what I want. They replied and said, where do we sign?
I'm getting butterflies in my tummy right now. That is a scary conversation.
Well, bro, I'm not going to say I got burnt, but I got kind of frustrated that it was like I was the afterthought. And then it was like, no, dude, like I was not looked at as the original plan. So when I pulled it off and then it got smeared and looked bad, and then they came back again, I was like, nah, if you want this photo, we're going to get paid right.
Right. You already lost it, right?
I got nothing to lose. And respectfully, I will say this is not about the client or the person or anything. This was about me knowing single-handedly this photo of this person in this location is worth money. And now it's probably worth even more due to some other things that have come up. So I'm glad I stood my ground. And it's like Mexico. If I didn't go on that trip, it would have never happened. One of the coolest things for me outside of work has been to inspire, encourage, and ideally help other people on their path in life. Your podcast, your vlog, your YouTube channel, all the information that you're giving out, I think that's incredible. So to the people watching right now, what would you say to the person that's like, David, you really are doing something I would dream to do? There's a lot of answers, but what would you say to them for motivation and advice?
Quality through quantity. So
I like that.
I stole it from someone.
That is phenomenal, bro.
Yeah, I heard it and I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because if you do what a lot of people do and they say, I want to put something out, but it needs to be good and it needs to hit and it needs to be polished. So actually, JD, this is talking to you on this one. If you're waiting to put something out because you want it to be the best possible, you might end up waiting a while and you're not going to put it out as quickly as you could. But if you put it out, and you will get feedback because people like to give feedback.
Love the feedback.
And also you can give yourself feedback. You watch it or you look at your video, your thumbnail. The best test that I do when I upload is I go, would I click this?
Yeah.
And if it's no, I'm like...
That's a tough skill, though.
It is.
To self-vet and detach from that emotional connection.
You do have to detach. You do have to detach. But there is a very microsecond reaction where you go yes or no. Like I would click on that or I wouldn't. Yeah. So if you're honest with yourself and you allow yourself to receive that, then you can go, okay, well, then it's not that. I just need to switch it up. You don't want to harp on it too long, but you want to put it out. People will give feedback. You will look at it and be more aware of, oh, I could have fixed this. Okay, I'll fix it on the next one. Yeah. I'll switch this up on the next one. Or I'll A/B test this on the next one. Yeah. And then YouTube's great because it gives you analytics and it shows you when everybody says, I'm out.
You know, I've heard through myself, through you, through my buddy Adam J, a lot of people saying that same thing. It's not that quality's bad. Quality is the goal, but quantity is the thing that's going to get you there. It's the vehicle in which you're going to improve. I have a younger intern working with me right now, and she's super sweet. And she gets hung up because she kind of overanalyzes stuff because she wants to be the best she can be. And I've been encouraging her to power through the tough spots on some of her learning curves because she wants to perfect it now. And I'm like, no, power through this. Let's just get this edited out. You've been kind of sitting on it. It looks good. You're learning. Let's get it out and go to the next one and to the next one. I do think there's something to be said about like getting stuck on stuff or waiting to perfect it to put it out. Because, dude, my first stuff was not there. Like the irony is everything I've done, even right now, right? The scale at which I'm providing upwards is beyond where we are, but the skills and tools I have are probably a little below where they could be, but that's okay because that's how we got here. This morning we did a live switching situation. The only reason we got there, dude, is because someone asked me to do it, and I bought a switcher and got on YouTube and called James Joyner, shout out the GOAT, and learned how to do it, and then said, "Congratulations, David, now you're the director." But that risk was worth it. So I think starting and just simply doing on repeat is, if I had to give one exclusive piece of advice, that would be it.
And, I'm not talking from some high level. My channel has 5,000 subscribers. Not that much. But I regardless, I am able to see what works and what doesn't work. If I post a video and it doesn't get any views, I look at it and say, okay, this is where they fell off. This is where all the views fall off. A lot of it in the beginning was when I would just kind of selfie video myself talk. No one wants to see a face that close for 45 seconds. It's boring. Okay, well then now I'm just going to lay B-roll over the top and make it fun, interesting, kind of like a Casey Neistat video. There's a cut every like 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's very engaging. And on a lower level, I can mimic that. And how can I make the most engaging video that fits me? Because I used to think I was a perfectionist. And I'm realizing I'm way too lazy to be a perfectionist. But
what's funny is you're not lazy. But what I will credit you in is you are very vocal and directional about what you want. You've been doing this for like basically a decade, and you've now said, like, you know what? I'm not doing post-production. I only shoot. I'm not doing aerial services for drones. I don't want to deal with it. And I think that's commendable because I'm doing the same thing in my business. And I'm like, okay, I'm the captain. I'm not doing these type of things. And it's not just for pleasure. I feel that if I focus on driving the ship as much as people would love my help doing the dishes, I'm going to crash the boat if I'm not doing my job.
Yeah, I like to be very focused. I think one of the biggest differences between us is when we were both in the same position where we were getting overworked, too many hours, and just not able to like control things. You went with addition. You added in people to take the load off of you. I went to subtraction and I said, we're canceling post-production altogether.
Dude.
I'm getting out of real estate, photo, and video, which is very hard because I'm saying no to clients who are saying, I have money for you.
Take it.
Saying, but I don't want to do this anymore. And I cut out all of these things that I didn't want to do and didn't make me happy. And then the crazy part is my rate went up because I became a specialist.
Yep.
I'm just a DP or a shooter for hire or a one-man band. That's what I do. I film on site and I hand off footage. And I'm so much happier. The money has increased. Not crazy, but I would say like almost double.
Well, dude, the fact that your money went up and your stress went down,
and doing
you
less.
basically quadrupled your money.
Right.
That's the way I do that math.
Yeah.
And that's a really valuable thing because my goal today, having David here primarily, is that you are a wizard. You have built a very unique thing. I know a ton of talented people, but what you're doing is so rare and unique and different. And all of us, all the people around you should look to you as a pillar of what you're doing. And it reminds me of Ben Gravy. I would never, ever tell anyone that they could go copy his plan and blueprint and repeat it because you will fail. It's one of one. You've got such a cool path. If you guys aren't already, follow David. What is all your social? I know you've got Morefield Visuals, and that's probably across the board, right?
Morefield Visuals on Instagram and then at David Morefield on YouTube.
Yeah, and I follow your YouTube channel as a fan more than your friend, which is cool. Because I've always told people, if you can get me to really watch, you've done a fantastic job, because I overly analyze. And dude, your stuff, like I said, I'm a subscriber. I got you on YouTube.
Well, when I watch a YouTube video, I find myself self-analyzing, and I'm like, why am I sticking around? Like, this is so good. I'm so engaged.
Yeah.
Why am I engaged? And if I can learn that, then I can apply that.
Yeah.
But going back to, you added, I subtracted, and both were the right decision, because that's how you're wired and that's how I'm wired. I think if you were in my position, you'd be like, I'm too contained. Like, I need to expand and call the shots, and like, I can do more.
I don't know what it is, but I think it's part of what I'm supposed to do, right? You know what I mean? It's my calling, it's my direction, and I love. And it's not about being a leader; it's about being that role. Like, I love that role. Even the suck. Like, when things go bad, like JD and a lot of people tell you, like, I dive pretty headfirst into shitty situations. Like, I dare you to mess with my team in an inappropriate way. That's black and white wrong. Like, you will learn quickly how fast I'll bleed for my people. And I know that they feel that, and I feel that back. And dude, I just feel like it's really rare. It's really rare to have this many cool people. And it's cool because I look at us all as little islands rising, and like NPI rises, but it's because people come to the island and work on it. And then David rises because all these people come and work on it. And what you've done is cool because it's very different, totally unique.
Those are the people you want to work with, the people who are building on their own time, right?
Yeah,
because you don't want a parasite who's going to just latch on and suck out of your whole production, right?
Yeah.
Or you're just your whole thing. You don't want someone that's just going to take.
I'm targeting two people right now. I'm targeting people like you that are highly solidified. People like Emmanuel, people like Justin that are going to pull up. I don't got to baby you. You're going to get it done. And then I'm targeting people who are looking for something different. They're looking for a home, if you will, a place to build. They want to become part of my team longer term. Now, that doesn't mean they can't have their own hustle, but there are a few people where this has worked out better than it can for others. And I do believe it's all timing, positioning, age, logistics. There's a lot of reasons. But as I'm finding these people, I'm realizing that there's different roles people can play. There's different types of things people want to do in life, right? So Che on the West Coast, young kid, super talented. He is doing things at a, I would say, I don't know about the number of the scale, but his operation cleanliness and the way that this kid's doing it at 21 years old, dude, he's smoking us. He loves being a part of NPI right now. I think that's cool as hell, because personally, I don't even know if he needs me. You know what I mean? But he told me the other day, he stayed here for the weekend and worked 2 or 3 events. He's like, bro, there's this thing in the air when I'm with you guys, and I like it. And I didn't want to like working for other people. And so I think that's cool. I think a lot of people that are around here, like a lot, as far as my local crew, I don't think they knew they were going to like it. It's just like we all became this little family. So it's cool, man. Your world is a circle. My world is a circle. They bleed over, and then other people come in. And major thank you and kudos for your filmmaker group, because you introduced us to so many heavy hitters. And JD over here, we were looking for people. He's like, yo, David's group. So he popped a message into your group, and just, I don't know, man. I'm trying to get this through your head. That is pretty big, dude. You put together a group of people that had existence in the first place for us to say, we need people. Let's go to the Google of filmmakers in Orlando. And then we found 2 people, at least, that work with us repetitively. Yeah. You did that.
Yeah, I did that, but I do it out of, just like the vlogs, I like to go through the path of least resistance. So for the vlogs, I just use my phone. I film on my phone. I edit on CapCut on my phone, and I upload to the YouTube app on my phone.
Which is disrespectfully awesome, by the way.
Oh, it's great, because I don't want to put any more effort, because effort requires more time, and
time is the enemy.
And I just want to get this out, right? If the story is good enough and engaging enough, then they're going to watch. The people who watch my vlogs are only there because of they find value from it. There's no music. There's no montages. Like, you really have to want to watch the vlog. There's no other reason.
I watch a channel like that, and they react to scuba videos, and there's no music or anything. And I asked myself recently, why am I so obsessed? I enjoy the content. Excuse me, the context, the talk, the gibber, the details about the equipment they're using and why the trim wasn't right. I get it. And you're giving that to people. That's why it's working.
So if you can, for me, that's the path of least resistance. I'm just going to use my phone because it allows me to get it out faster. And there's no ROI on opening up Premiere or Final Cut.
For sure.
And taking the memory card out and putting it onto my hard drive and opening up Project Sequence. I would never get it done, ever. So that's my preferred style. And then for the Filmmaker meetup, the guy I mentioned earlier who came from Arizona here, I said, hey, can I film a clip of us like having coffee? I think it'd be cool to put on my vlog. Yeah, sure. Put it out. 5 people say, hey, I'd like to take you up on coffee. Absolutely not. That's so much time. 5 coffee dates?
Yeah.
Let's do it all at the same time.
So
I'll take a picture. I'm going to call it the Orlando Filmmaker Meetup.
Oh my God, Dave.
I'm going to post it.
I remember these posts.
And then more people go, there's an Orlando Filmmaker
So you know
meetup?
what it is?
There is.
You followed the rabbit hole, the breadcrumbs, whatever you want to call it. I said it in the speech today. People are like, oh, how? Where do I start? You find that first crumb, and you go in that direction until you find another crumb. And here's the weird part. Sometimes the crumb will, oh.
Yeah.
Now we're going this way. You didn't even want to start it.
I don't even want to be that guy.
Well, you did it.
You did it. I'm an event planner now. And I'm like, I didn't think I would do this. But there is a weird satisfaction that I know you have felt before when you do bring a ship into harbor. You're like,
bro,
I did that.
Why do you think I put all those PR trips together?
I don't like doing that. But it is very satisfying because I get a lot out of it, right? I'm the front face of it. It's David's Orlando Filmmaker Meetup. Or even cooler, someone comes to the meetup and they go, who are you? And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. You know the meetup outside of me.
That's cool.
That's really cool. And
that's kind of like I'll meet people occasionally that like are aware of like maybe MPI, but not me.
Right.
That's cool.
And then people come to the meetup and they get different opportunities that I did not orchestrate, but they meet someone, they start talking. And what you said, where you went into that Orlando chat and put out a call, some people fit the description of the person you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
And that matched up well. And then there's other people who are at different levels and different experiences. But if we all know each other, it makes it way easier. And I kind of have to begrudgingly accept that because, like I said, I like just doing my own thing, being alone, and it's too obvious how much payoff there is when you share and network and communicate with others. Because most of the time, I can do the work of all of these jobs, but if I don't know the person who hires the guy, I don't do it. And recently, I just put out a vlog where the head of a international bank was researching FX6 something. Saw my vlog, started just following the journey. And then he emailed me and said, hey, I'm the head of videography for this international bank. And you already did the vetting process for me. You showed me that you do work, that you travel. Well, we need this type of role. And so I worked for him 2 weeks ago. It's a international company. I'll just say that. I don't know if they want their names put out there, but that was completely sourced within the vlog. If I didn't share, I wouldn't have got that.
And that wasn't the goal.
It wasn't the goal,
which is the important part.
The cool part is I can make a vlog on that.
Which is going to...
Yes!
Ask JD, what do I say? Every time we go somewhere, before the trip, I'm like, dude, this is the biggest thing ever. We've got the Zoom feature on the shark. This is it. And then guess what? Now it's about what is going to come from this. And then when we get to that next thing, what's going to come from that? And that opportunity, the boxing opportunity that we've been talking about outside of, bro, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's meeting people at the place, at the bar, outside the thing, and having the conversation, and it just keeps going.
And I think one of the reasons why you brought me in for that is because I have some limited combat filming experience.
You know what's funny? Nope.
Oh, okay.
Literally had nothing to do with your combat experience. I have multiple people that are qualified, great shooters that I don't know how they would do in the environment. The stress of the director screaming in your ear, the graphics team, lighting, 7 camera operators. It's just, and then physical awareness. You're getting run into, you're getting bumped, your stuff's falling apart. You got to be in frame. You got to, dude, in the lock, it's a nightmare, bro. And it's not
run
for
to the other
everybody.
side because the fighter is arriving now. Okay, I know you're running, but we're switching and we're bringing you over here because something's happening in
Just
the ring.
kidding. Floyd Mayweather showing up.
Right.
Run to the other side. And I've checked my freaking Apple Watch. I've done 6 or 7 miles in an ESPN venue. So it really does, attribute to more than just their capabilities.
That's when it goes beyond what I said earlier of like everybody knows how to use an A7S3 and a Ronin. Yeah, but if you don't know how to navigate these circumstances,
the field.
Yes.
You'll
put into practice, it's different.
Lots of people out here that can shoot a gun pretty good and hit a target, right? Put them on a battlefield. That's the difference. You're sitting there operating it in the calmness of your environment versus you are literally in a battlefield. You are fighting for front position with other people, other photographers, other video, and then you've got the commission who just doesn't give a shit about the video team. And you've got to politely find a way to get your job done. So,
yeah, man. It's funny in the combat spirit. So I did my little documentary about an MMA fighter that led to so many opportunities with more MMA and documentary experience like that I didn't think would happen. But the cool part is, and kind of going off what you just said, is like I've been taking some combat classes, and the way a class usually goes is you do some stretching, you do some shadow boxing, you do drills, and then at the end you do some sparring, usually light sparring. When you're doing the drills, you're like, I got this. This is so easy.
Real life.
And then when you have someone throw it back at you, it's like a different sport. It's like a different activity.
Simulator versus the real thing.
Dude,
it's totally different.
Oh, I'm so bad at
and
fighting.
Hiring you for that, truly just to credit you, I was like, oh yeah, David does film combat night. That's cool. Nah, dude, it was because you're a responsible person. You're not going to say anything crazy. You know how to respect my client. You know how to operate around the client. Literally, dude, finding people to check the boxes of the jobs most times is easier than finding the people that can have environmental awareness, respect the client, and balance things out. And if shit does hit the fan, can they handle it correctly? All these other different things. And you're that guy. And what's funny is I tell people you're that guy when I send you. Like I alleviate my client's concern, because a thing that happened to me that I didn't mean to happen is I am wildly attached to my business to the point that people are like, what do you mean? If you read my contract, any contract that we've ever signed in the last 3 years, there is a stipulation said that there is no guarantee Dalton Smith will be on site unless agreed upon. And it's awesome. I appreciate people want me there, but as I got more busy, it wasn't possible. And so it was important to have people that could give like not just the quality, but operate the whole thing the way I would. So
the thing that I've heard multiple times from people who hire me is you can do the job, right? You have the technical knowledge. A lot of people have the technical knowledge. They go, I can leave the room and I know you're not going to ruin anything. You're not going to say anything wrong to the client. You're just going to smoothly navigate through. If you do need to talk to the client, I trust you're going to be able to be calm and move through that situation very easily. Yeah. And you know what really helps with that is when you are that person. So there are times when I do take on my own productions and I bring in subcontractors and I jump into your role and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly what I don't want to do, but it really gives me the awareness next time when I'm freelancing for someone. This is what they're feeling.
Yeah, and it helps you perform the best you can to assist with those people. So like this morning was wild, bro, because I was literally, I don't care how set up that thing was, bro. We had 7 cameras, a switcher, a director, a graphics guy, camera operators, interns, behind the scenes, and I'm speaking. So I will give myself a little pat on the back. It takes a massive amount of mental diversion to be in the green room mingling with the people I'm about to speak with in the panel, and then coming back over to assess the SSD, not writing 10 minutes before program start. So it's a lot, but I enjoy it. And it's not just my response, it's the team's response. And that's why I do well. So, yeah, man, teamwork makes the dream work. And I love having you as a part of the team. And today was just an extension of that. And, yeah, man, I'm proud of you, bro. So I think that this is hopefully the first podcast we do, because I feel like we could do subcategories and topics, and I can't wait to see where you go from here. I don't even need to know what's going to be further, because I've seen you do it for 10 years now, bro. I've seen you just evolve your hustle. I've done it. We've all done it, and it's really weird, dude. We're not old, but this is a surreal podcast in a sense that, I don't know, this is now documentation of the growth we've had.
It's a cool,
I'm proud of it.
Chapter marker, like a little bit of recap on, probably close to a decade.
That we know, but they don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we're just some random videographer people, you know? There's so many people who are in this field and navigating their trajectory themselves. But if you can like intermingle with other people, and you don't know when it'll come back around. Like ESPN, it might be 7 years later, or it could be 1 year later, just from something that you said at one time. It doesn't make me want to feel like fake in the sense of I gotta always give off the best perception of me, but it's just true.
You never know when it matters.
You never know when someone's going to clock something that you completely forgot.
Dude, the conversations we've had today about client stuff, and that's what I'm talking about. Weird things mean things in the scheme of things. You know, that's why I try really hard to just operate exceptionally, even if it doesn't make sense, you know, because you never know. I'm not the people making the decisions to hire me, you know. And my advice to everybody is listen to what you learned today. We could not make money differently. We could not scale up or down or add people or move people differently. But there is so much success here, and I think it should encourage people to follow their path, hit the bumpers, like the sides a little, and see where it goes. Because if you never throw the ball, you're never going to be able to adjust. So yeah, man, go for it. Start a YouTube channel. I mean, dude, you must have told me 100 times, and even though it's not perfect, I am doing what you're saying, and I'm proud of it because it did go back to you. You're like, start. So I polish every day. I'm getting there every day. This podcast going down immediately after our big gig this morning is affirmation of that. I wanted you on here, and I didn't want to miss next week, so I was committed to grind it out, and I'm glad you were too.
Yeah,
bro.
I appreciate it. I am finding that I really like podcasting. Like, this whole setup is cool, and just being able to like talk without any ulterior motives. You just got to get into some really cool conversations, talk to some cool people.
It's enjoyable.
It really is, especially with these on.
Isn't it nice to step away and be in your little fish tank? Nah, man, I love you, bro. I'm proud of you. You should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. And I would kind of like, sometimes I need repeating it back to myself, but like the exploration, the pushing part, you might uncover some things, like pushing for an Orlando filmmaker meetup, pushing to, let's just try the vlogging thing, you pushing podcasts or new clients, or let me push that rate request.
Yeah.
Like, there's no exploration without the exploring and the pushing and the testing and experimenting, and that didn't work. So let's go left this time.
So leave your village and
Yeah.
start exploring.
Yeah, and like, action brings action. It's just being sedentary is very slow, painful growth.
Yeah.
Whereas you could just quickly just run through the thorn bush and be like, oh, I made it out, or I'm stuck in here. I got to try a different way. So hopefully there's some people who got some cool stuff out of it.
Oh my gosh,
I had some fun. I definitely would like to talk more.
Yeah,
because there's way more stories that need to be told.
You know what's going to happen? We're going to have a podcast here soon. Someone brought it up to me. They said, how cool would it be to have 4 of the OG boys on here to all talk together? So I think we're going to do that soon.
That'd be cool.
And if you guys want to keep up with David Morefield visuals, David Morefield on YouTube, there is a plethora of information. I think that if you're interested in filmmaking, running the individual route, or even, doesn't really matter. There's so much to learn from David, so subscribe to his channel. And if you guys are new here, we're going to be posting videos more and more frequently, and I'm super excited to have people like David back me up. So make sure you guys subscribe, and I will see you next time.